In this video, I'll demonstrate the integration between InTouch Edge HMI and System Platform through the ITMEViewApp object. So the agenda has just three main areas. First, a quick overview about the integration, then a live demonstration showing from scratch how to integrate both products, and then a review and summary with some tips and tricks for troubleshooting. This is the main architecture. The whole idea is that you have one station running System Platform and one or multiple stations running InTouch Edge HMI, and somehow you want to share information, tag values, alarm status between the InTouch Edge HMI runtime stations and the System Platform Enterprise SCADA system. So using this native object called ITMEViewApp object, System Platform can natively and automatically detect the objects available in each one of the InTouch Edge HMI runtime stations, and during the runtime, as those tags change value in the runtime stations, the updated values are automatically updated in System Platform and vice versa. Same thing for alarm status. So InTouch Edge HMI provides runtimes for multiple platforms, from Windows to Windows Embedded to even Linux. And all those stations can be integrated with System Platform in different ways, for instance, through OPC UA. But the native object, ITMEViewApp object, is available in the Windows-based versions of InTouch Edge HMI, what we call full runtime or even embedded view for Windows IoT. The whole idea is that from System Platform, in one computer you have System Platform and InTouch Edge HMI, that's your development computer, and the runtime, possibly the runtime for System Platform. And from that station you can manage one or multiple remote stations running InTouch Edge HMI, and even download applications from the development station to each one of the runtime nodes. The main steps to make the configuration work is, first, in System Platform, you install the ITMEViewApp object, and then, which is illustrated here, and then create a derived template from this object. Then, using System Platform, you just open this object and launches the InTouch Edge HMI development environment automatically, where you can either create new projects or open existing projects and edit those projects according to your needs. Then you just drag this derived template of the object to your Galaxy deployment and deploy the instance or instances of this object on each one of your platforms and engine. Then you can double-click on the deployed instances of the object and use the commands on the object to download the application to the actual runtime stations where you want to run InTouch Edge HMI. So it's important to understand the differentiation before deploying the object on System Platform and downloading the application to the actual physical runtime stations, different nodes, and actually run the applications there, where during the runtime you'll be exchanging data between the runtime stations and the deployed versions of the objects in System Platform by exception. Only when tags change of value or alarms change of status, the runtime stations of InTouch Edge HMI send messages to System Platform and vice versa, either using the TCP port 1234 or 51234 for encrypted data. At least those are the default ports, and you can customize them as I will show in the tutorial. So a main advantage here is, as you create the project in System Platform using the development environment of InTouch Edge HMI, the whole project is saved in the Galaxy repository, and as you enable tags in your InTouch Edge HMI project to be shared with System Platform, the respective attributes are automatically created in the System Platform object. So some of the benefits of the solution, you can have a single point to configure your System Platform project and also to launch and configure your InTouch Edge HMI projects, everything from the ArchestrA IDE. As you save the projects from InTouch Edge HMI, they are automatically saved into the Galaxy repository. we automatically expose tag values and the metadata from those tags, alarm properties, alarm fields, and so on, as attributes of the objects in System Platform. So it's an auto-configuration, a self-discovery of the InTouch Edge HMI nodes directly in System Platform. And during the runtime, we exchange not only tag values, but you can also enable communication of alarm status. So if you acknowledge an alarm in System Platform, it's acknowledged in InTouch Edge HMI and vice versa, as well as you can enable the object in System Platform to save data directly to the Wonderware historian. Finally, you can easily manage one or multiple stations running InTouch Edge HMI from System Platform by using the built-in tools to download projects, connect to projects, even start and stop the projects remotely, as we show in the tutorial. With that, that's showtime. For the demonstration, I'm going to use another tool from the AVEVA portfolio called Integration Studio, which allows me to pretty much configure and launch virtual machines on the cloud. So in this particular example, I set up two virtual machines, one called Node 1, where I have InTouch Edge HMI and System Platform installed, and another called Node 2, where I have just InTouch Edge HMI installed. So the Node 1 will be my development station, and the Node 2 will be my runtime station in this particular example. I'm using here System Platform 2017 Update 3, and InTouch Edge HMI 2017 Update 3 as well. But this solution is available since System Platform 2012 R2 and InTouch Edge HMI version 8.1 2014 R2 Service Pack 2 as well. So with no overdue, let's configure the solution from scratch. I can come here to Wonderware System Platform and launch the IDE. And I'm going to create a completely new galaxy, which I'll call test, and create. Okay, now that the galaxy is created, I can connect to it and launch the ArchestrA Graphics IDE. And since I installed both System Platform and InTouch Edge HMI in this computer, which is not a requirement but is convenient, I can import the ITMEViewApp object directly on this computer. So I come here to Galaxy, Import Objects, and I go to the directory where I installed InTouch Edge HMI, which by default is C Program Files, Wonderware, InTouch Edge HMI 8.1, redist, ITME object, and I have the AAPKG file here. You can just open and install with the default settings. Okay, it finished the installation, and now if I expand here System, you see the ITMEViewApp object available in System Platform. So the first step, I'll create here a new derived template of this object, and I'll give a name to it, for instance, HMI. and I double click here on this derived template, and I have and you can see here that in attributes, I obviously do not have any attributes. And here in general, I can go to edit project, and I have the option to either import, open an existing project that created in the past, or create a new InTouch Edge HMI project. So I'll select to create a new one, and it's going to launch InTouch Edge HMI that's installed in my computer. I can select the type of the application that I want to use. In this case, I'll use InTouch for Windows with 500 tags. Resolution. Security system. We strongly recommend to use the security system, but as the first test is in this tutorial, I will disable the security system, but I will show how to enable and configure it later in the tutorial. But just for the first test to be simpler, I will disable here the security system, and I just created a brand new application. So I can create tags in my application. For example, I'm going to create my tag A here. It's an integer, and those 3 columns are reference for the integration, native integration with InTouch Edge HMI with System Platform. So if I check the checkbox integrated value, iValue, it means that whenever this tag change of value in InTouch Edge HMI, I want to synchronize the value with a respective attributes in System Platform and vice versa. iAlarm means that I want to share the alarm status, and iHistorian, it means that I want to save the data to the historian in System Platform as well. So I can close here, and here in graphics, I can create a simple screen, for instance, only with a button here for now to exit. And I'll use a text box on the screen to show the value of tag A. Very simple screen. I will save it as my main screen, and I'll right click here to set it as the startup screen. Finally, here in tasks, I need to make sure that the TCP/IP server runtime task is set to run automatically during the runtime. And to simplify the first test, I'll go to communication, and here in data server, I will enable the port 1234 by default, which is not encrypted. So I do not need to deal with certificates for the very first test. And that's pretty much my application configuration. I can even try it here, run it here. You see the value 0 there. I can write the value 10 to the tag just by clicking here, typing 10, change the value back to 0, and click on the button. Oh, I didn't configure anything to shut down the application when I click on the button. So here, I can go back to my configuration and enable in the button the command shutdown, the function shutdown. So when I click on the button, I will shut down the runtime. Just save the changes. Now, online configuration, when I click on the button, it shuts the runtime down. Very well, I can close the development environment of InTouch Edge HMI just by closing here. And in System Platform, I can save the changes. And now here in the deployment model, I can expand it and drag my derived template to my deployment model. So it is available here by default. And here I can link it to our runtime station. So I need to know, if I double click here, I need to know what is the IP address of my runtime station. So here in this particular case is 10.0.0.5. And what's the TCP port I use for communication? In this case is 1234. and if it should be using the encrypted channel or not. Since I disabled encryption in my project, for now I will leave this checkbox unchecked. Now on the runtime station, I need to run what's called remote agent, so I can connect to it to download the application to the actual runtime station. So I'll switch here to the other computer, and I'll go to Wonderware. And run here the InTouch Edge HMI remote agent. It says the security system is not configured. If I want to configure now, I'll say no for now. So now it's running on the IP address 10.0.0.5, and it's listening the TCP port 4322 by default. Now back to the development environment, I can connect to it. So it connected. This is the directory, the default directory where it will download the application, the runtime device. And then I can hit here download to transfer my complete project from here to the runtime station. And it's done. The whole project now is downloaded there. So on the runtime station now I have the whole project files there. And to start the project, I can even start it remotely just by hitting run here. So I hit run, and on the runtime station, I just switch it here to node 2. On the runtime station, it launched the project, and I can change the values here, change the value of tag A, for instance, from 0 to 10 or anything else. So I'll leave the project running on the runtime station. Then I'll save this configuration here on my deployed on my object, and I'll right click to actually deploy the object in System Platform. Actually, I have to deploy the platform first. And it will deploy the platform, the engine, in the actual instance of the object that will communicate with the runtime station running InTouch Edge HMI. Okay, the object has been deployed, so it's running, and it was supposed to connect with the runtime nodes and exchange data. So if I come here on the object, on the deployed object, and open the object viewer, it connects, it opens the object here, the deployed object, and it shows here, for instance, the tag A, and it already shows even the value 10, which is the value that I have on this object on the runtime. And I can even move here to my watch list and change, for instance, the value 10 to 20. And if I go to the runtime station, the value there is updated to 20. And if I change here to 30 and go back to System Platform, the value is updated to 30. And there is no pooling between InTouch Edge HMI and System Platform. So this mechanism also saves bandwidth and minimizes communication on the network between System Platform and InTouch Edge HMI. So this is the simplest configuration, and you saw that with without any scripts and very few clicks here and there, in a few minutes you can completely link a project and tag values from InTouch Edge HMI with System Platform and exchange tag values, timestamp, and quality automatically during the runtime. Notice as well that without any manual configuration in System Platform, all the attributes from System Platform, if I enable here user extended, all the attributes in System Platform in InTouch Edge HMI are automatically created as attributes in System Platform just by creating the tags in InTouch Edge HMI and checking the checkbox iValue. Now, another capability we have is to exchange not only tag values but alarm status as well. So I can come back here to edit the project on my development station. I can go to edit project. It does not ask me if I want to create the project anymore because this object is already linked to a particular project. And I'm gonna enable alarms here. So say here, for instance, when the tag, if I go here to projects, tag A has a value higher than 80, I want to show the message alarm tag A high. And I may or may not have history, that's irrelevant. So for now, I can save this configuration. And here in graphics, I'll just create an alarm control on the screen. So when the alarm happens, I can see the alarms in the object. Save it. I can run it locally here in my development station as a sandbox, so I can test the project, make sure it works as intended. So it's starting the runtime. I can change the value here to 50, nothing should happen. But if I change to 100, then I have the alarm tag A high. If I double click, I acknowledge. If I go back to 10, for example, it's normalized. So it's working as expected. Again, I can save the changes here in System Platform. It automatically checks in and saves the project on the Galaxy repository. And now I can download the application to the runtime station. So I can connect to the runtime station, which is currently running the project. I can hit stop from here to stop the project on the runtime station. So the project was shut down, was closed. Only remote agent is running here. And then I can download the updated version of the project. And I have the option to download the whole thing or only the files that I change it. Very well. Now I can send a command to run the project on the runtime station. It's launching and running automatically here on the runtime station. And now, by the way, if I go to attributes, I have here my tag A, but I do not have alarm attributes because I didn't configure the project to share alarm attributes. So let's make this change on the project. So here on the Edge project, I have a very simple configuration to make, which is I want to share not only the values, but the alarms associated with the tag A as well. So just check the column iValue for this tag. Save the changes, automatically checks in. Then connect to the runtime station, stop the project, download the changes, run the project again. And now the only thing I have to do is to redeploy the object in System Platform. So I'm redeploying the object. And if I go back to Object Viewer, notice that in addition to the actual tag A value, I have additional properties here, including the act message and another property indicating if the tag is act or not. So if I go to my runtime station, I can change again the value here to 50 and go back to System Platform, and you see the value 50. And then I can come here and change the value to 100. And now in System Platform, the act is false, indicating that the alarm has not been act. It's requiring acknowledgement. I can acknowledge the alarm either from Edge or from System Platform. For instance, here in System Platform, I can have a acknowledgement message like test. Okay. And just by doing that, I automatically acknowledged the alarm here in System Platform. So we share not only tag values, but alarm status as well. Another option we have is to communicate, but enable the security system. So it requires authentication for someone to connect to InTouch Edge HMI. So I'm going to edit the InTouch Edge HMI project again. And here in Global Security, I will enable the security system. And now I can create groups and users. So I create a new group called Wonderware System Platform Group. Doesn't matter the name of the group, could be engineer, could be guest, could be whatever you want. But it's very important that in a group that is linked to the communication with System Platform, you check this checkbox, enable remote security system and remote debugging tools, which means that remotely I can exchange data with System Platform. Now I can create a user. So I create a new user here called WSP user. Again, could be any username. It just needs to be linked with a group that has that option enabled. So in this case, I'm assigning this group to this user. And you may or may not assign a password. So I'm going to assign a password here for security reasons. And done. So all I did here was to create a group where this option, enable remote security system and remote debugging tools, is enabled, and create a user, which in this case is the user WSP user, which is part of that group. So this user has the ability to exchange data with the TCP/IP server during the runtime. Very well. I did the configuration on my project. Close, save again. And now in the object, in the deployed object, all I have to do is to configure the project user here, which in my case is System Platform user, set the password, whatever password I set there. And now I can stop the application, the runtime, download the changes, run the project again, and save the new configuration with the new user and password. So now when I deploy the object with the changes, it will attempt to connect to the runtime station using the security system settings. Again, if I go to Object Viewer, I can see here tag A the value, and I can exchange data with InTouch Edge HMI using this configuration. So this runtime here, just start the project. So now the application is running on the runtime station with the new security system configuration. And if I go to InTouch Edge HMI and go to Object Viewer, I have the tag A. Now it's connected to the runtime using the authentication settings that I configured on the object. And the communication still works. So if I drag here tag A and change the value to 100, it changed the value to 100 here. If I change the value to 20 here, it changes the value back to 20 there. So it's still communicating the same way. I just enabled the security system now, which is strongly recommended. So System Platform uses the authentication, a particular username and password to connect to InTouch Edge HMI, and then InTouch Edge HMI trusts this connection to exchange tag values and alarm status. One last configuration that's possible, and I'll demonstrate here, is encryption. Also, to increase the security in the communication between InTouch Edge HMI stations and System Platform, you can enable encryption as well using TLS between InTouch Edge HMI and System Platform. So in order to configure that, I'll go back to my project here, edit my project, very well. So you can edit the project here in System Platform. And I'll go back here to communication and enable the encrypted port, which by the way is the default when you create projects for full runtime Windows. So I'll enable encryption here. I'll run the project to make sure it still runs with no problems. So now the project is running. You can shut down, close the application, save the project. Okay, the project is saved. Now I can very easily here connect to my runtime station, stop the application on the runtime station, and download the project with the changes. Now, in order to communicate with this project, now I have to change the TCP port to the encryption port, which by default is 51234, and check the checkbox encrypted channel. So I'm telling the object to connect to the station using encryption, to connect to InTouch Edge HMI using encryption. But this encryption also uses certificates. So I can install the certificate both on the System Platform station and on the runtime station. So the easiest way to do that is, let me just save here. I'll go back to edit my project here on the development station. And here in the database spy, I can use this function get app path, open close parentheses, which shows me the directory where this application is running. So I can open here Windows Explorer. This is the directory where the application is stored. I can go to the config folder, CER store, on, and I have the Studio Data Server certificate here. Can double click and install certificate. Now, extremely important, select the option local machine, not current user, to make this certificate available across different users, even users instantiated by InTouch Edge HMI and the users used by System Platform. So next, finished. So I installed the certificate here in my System Platform station. Obviously, I just have to do it once. Save it, yes. In this case, it's a self-created certificate by InTouch Edge HMI. You can use different ones as long as they are valid certificates. And now I want to enable the same certificate in InTouch Edge HMI on the InTouch Edge HMI station. I'm here. And use the same thing, get app path to see where the application is saved in this station. I can come here to config, TR store, on, and I can install the certificate as local machine in this local station as well. Very well. So now I can deploy. Don't remember if you downloaded the application with the changes, but just to be sure, I'll download the application with the changes. I'll run the application, the runtime station. And then I will deploy the object on System Platform. Now if I go to Object Viewer, I see the different values here and attributes, including tag A. With the value 0. If I change the value here to 10, changes the value to 10 here. If I change the value to 100 on the runtime station, it changes the value to 100 in System Platform and vice versa. So now they are communicating using not only authentication, but also encryption. So this is a complete demonstration on how to link InTouch Edge HMI runtime stations with System Platform using the ITMEViewApp object in System Platform. And just to sum up, I'd like to provide a few summary, review, and troubleshoot tips. So remember that in order to download projects to InTouch Edge HMI, the object in System Platform connects to remote agent on the runtime station. So the remote agent module of InTouch Edge HMI must be running and listening to the TCP port 4322 on the remote station. So make sure that from System Platform, you can ping the remote station in whatever IP address you have on the InTouch Edge HMI runtime station, and that you can connect to the port 4322 from System Platform to the InTouch Edge HMI runtime station. For example, using the telnet command. So telnet, the IP address of the InTouch Edge HMI runtime station, and the port 4322. If it connects, it should show just a blank black window on the command prompt. If it fails, it's going to give you an error. And in this case, either you have a bad connection or a firewall that's blocking inbound connections on the TCP port 4322. And in this case, you need to reconfigure your firewall to enable the connection. Otherwise, you cannot connect to the station and download projects or start and stop the projects remotely. Once the project is downloaded and running there, then you need to make sure that the TCP/IP server runtime task of InTouch Edge HMI is running. on the, is configured to run automatically on your project. You need to make sure that the TCP port configured in the InTouch Edge HMI project matches the TCP IP port configured on the object in System Platform. And if you want to use encryption, you need to make sure that the certificate or a valid certificate is installed on the System Platform station with the option local machine when you install the certificate, not only current user. Also, to exchange data and status, you need to make sure that if you want to use authentication, if you want to enable the security system, make sure that the user configured in InTouch Edge HMI is part of a group where the option to exchange data remotely, enable remote security system and remote debugging tools is enabled, and use the same user and System Platform. And of course, for communication, you need to make sure that whatever TCP port you enable for communication, 1234 or 51234 by default, is also enabled for communication, and you can use Telnet again to make sure that the connection is valid. Thank you. I hope this video helps you to integrate InTouch Edge HMI with System Platform. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us.